the First Lady of Sports, Rachel Hill.
What's up? What's up? What's up? This is your girl, Rachel Hill, and you are listening to her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. So it is not a victory Monday as I was hoping, but we're still going to have some fun here in the house. And I am here with Sapphire. I am here with rising senior Dylan Westbrook. He's going to be joining us today. Super excited to have him. And she is back, Cleveland Kate. Cleveland Kate, what's up? How you doing today?
Oh,
Maybe if I hit
you know how my day's going after yesterday. Shameful.
Yeah.
Shameful. I can't stop pacing, Rachel. But your hair looks good, girl. You're so cute.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. You been doing good, though?
Oh, it's been a month. It's been a month. I had a fabulous vacation that on the way home, some woman on the plane had a medical emergency. So we had to get diverted to Puerto Rico, which made me miss my flight. So I had to spend the night in Miami. Then I'm home a week and my husband trips and falls and breaks his ankle in 2 places the day before our daughter's wedding. So he walked her down the aisle on crutches. And then when he went to have surgery, he started having heart problems. So they stopped the surgery on his ankle to get a cardiologist, spent 3 days in the hospital, did get the ankle fixed. But now we get to go to cardiologists and orthopedics and all kinds of medical stuff. I couldn't wait for September to be over. And that abomination of a football game last night did not do me any favors. Did not do me. I wasn't this angry after the Pittsburgh loss, and I was in Pittsburgh for that one.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you heard me, but we got Sapphire here with us, and we also got rising senior Dylan Westbrook here with us today, joining in. So super excited to have Dylan here. So he's going to get a little taste of what radio is like, and he's ready to go. So yeah, yesterday we are not having a victory Monday. We are having a depressing Monday, but we're going to talk through it and talk about what went wrong, what could have went better. So let's go ahead and get into it. So today, when I sent y'all out the show topics, I had posed a question, and we're going to get into every aspect of that question. But one of the things was, who do we blame the most for the Browns' blowout loss yesterday to the Ravens, and why? And one of the choices was Dorian Thompson-Robinson for not being prepared for his moment to start. Option B, Kevin Stefanski for not having the team ready to play and his play calling. Option C, the Browns defense for giving up 28 points and seemingly having a subpar game. Or D, Andrew Berry for not making sure the roster had a reliable backup quarterback for Deshaun, a Jacoby Brissett or Josh Dobbs type guy. So we're going to go ahead and we'll start off with Sapphire. So Sapphire, give me your letter grade and why.
You should start, was it Dougie Fresh? Let me clear my throat. Okay. B all day long. B, 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 B. And if I'm not mistaken correctly, Coach Stefanski threw Deshaun under the bus today as well. So for me, listen, God bless DTR. I really hope he got some spiritual counseling as well after the game yesterday, because you can't be more beat down as a young, brand new player in the NFL as I saw that young man look yesterday. I don't put any of this on him, right? To me, this goes back again to that same old button we keep pressing on in terms of Coach Stefanski's play calling. You know, young man, when I was your age, I was in the Madden. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew, wow, I got all these great plays in my playbook. I'm just going to press those buttons. Forget the team that I'm playing. Forget the situation that I'm in. Oh, most importantly, forget my players and their strengths and weaknesses, right? Help me if I'm wrong. Isn't one of the roles of the coach, football, basketball, baseball, whatever, is to identify the talent and then work with the talent to bring out their strengths and minimize their weaknesses? We had all week, right? Because according to what I'm reading, and I had to go to the San Diego Union Tribune to get some balanced reporting. according to what I'm looking at, they knew all last week Deshaun couldn't throw the ball. Talk to me. Let me step back and take a breath and listen to young Mr. Westbrook respond to that. Come on.
All right, here's my take. Kevin Stefanski, I feel like it's a mixture of DTR and Kevin Stefanski. Don't get me wrong. Kevin Stefanski absolutely should have this team ready. There's no excuse why this team just looked unready out there. This offense was slow. Run game was slow. Everything about it. I mean, DTR looked lost out there. He just looked like he wasn't prepared. And yes, that does fall on DTR, but it falls on Kevin Stefanski as well. Because clearly Kevin Stefanski did not change his play calling to fit DTR. You had him out there running plays that are Deshaun plays. DTR and Deshaun are two different players. You can't use a formula that works for one guy for another, because DTR, as we can see, when you work plays together for DTR in that preseason, you had people thinking that DTR was going to take Deshaun Watson's starting spot in the preseason, but you can't use the same plays for DTR for Deshaun Watson. On top of that, defensively, clearly our game plan defensively, we didn't have an answer for Lamar Jackson. When he wanted to throw, he got to throw. When he wanted to run, he got to run. I mean, Myles Garrett, you started off the game strong. You had a sack. The defense started off pretty strong, held the Ravens a little bit, but then after that, we just fell apart. We absolutely fell apart. Lamar Jackson was running all over the place. The defensive line was just crumbling too easily, as well as our secondary getting cooked. The entire game, our secondary was getting toasted by the Ravens wide receiver core.
So are you saying you're going with B, what Sapphire said as well?
Absolutely, I'm going with B. Kevin Stefanski, you are not prepared coming into this game, and your game plan just was not. It didn't fit what we needed for this game.
Cleveland K, who are you assigning blame to? A, B, C, D, or E? All of the above. Cleveland K. Hey, could you hear me? Hey, Cleveland Kate. I'm going to go with B as well. For me, Kevin Stefanski, one of the things is I agree with pretty much everything that you say, you as well as Sapphire. One of the things was with this is that his play calling was terrible to me. One of the things is, they abandoned the run very early, and the run opens up the pass. So one of the things that you need to do was run the ball. I understand that it was very slow to get going. I understand that, Jerome Ford, he's out there. You got to get him going. You got to trust him to allow the running to open up for your passing plays. So, one of the things is that Kevin Stefanski could have started out with some screens to Jerome Ford. He could have started out with some screens to Kareem Hunt. We know that Kareem Hunt is a pretty decent receiver out of the backfield. That's not necessarily a weakness for Jerome Ford. He can kind of catch the ball too. He had that 19-yard catch, from Deshaun Watson last game. So, he has the ability to catch the ball as well. But I think, you should have dinked and dunked initially to allow DTR to get a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. I don't think they did anything out of the shotgun as well, or no quarterback draws or anything like that. So I don't think, and even Kevin Stefanski admitted this. He said, I did not put him in a position to succeed. And the thing is, he's not giving up play calling anytime soon. And your play calling is what didn't put him in a position to succeed. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to give up on play calling? That's something that he's not going to do anytime soon. So, these situations, you're going to continue to take the blame. And then what's going to happen is you're going to eventually lose your job, because they're going to have somebody in here, a head coach in here, who's going to trust his offensive coordinator to let him call the plays. Hey, Cleveland Kate, could you hear me now? I don't know. I think she might be frozen a little bit. But so you said that you're not assigning any blame at all, Dylan, to DTR as well for not being prepared.
I wouldn't assign all of the blame on DTR.
What percentage would you assign him?
Only about 30%, because at the end of the day, I think he had days and he had time to mentally prepare himself for the game. But when he got in there, I will admit, the first drive, he started off okay. He wasn't bad, it wasn't horrible. And then after that, he just started to unwind. He just looked a little confused out there. But I'm not gonna assign all the blame on him because Kevin Stefanski clearly just didn't prepare his playbook for DTR at all. So I'd say 70% of the blame goes to Kevin Stefanski, and then 30%, or rather actually 25. I'll go 25% on the blame. It goes to DTR.
Okay. So Sapphire, you said no percentage of blame?
0%, because I'm trying to recall, and help me out with this. The point that we saw DTR start to break down, can we say that there was a correlation between that and when Kevin Stefanski started throwing down the field on like second and short? See, for me, you can't. How young is DTR?
Fresh out of college, he's a rookie this year.
Yeah, I think he might be 22 because I think he stayed all 4 years.
Yeah.
So I think he might be 22.
6 heck doesn't want to be up. He's a baby, right?
Right.
And we got fight or flight reactions to stress, right?
23.
23. So the coach putting him in situations, no one in the backfield, defense obviously knows Kevin Stefanski's tendencies, and they see a fifth string quarterback? Third. Back there by himself, right? Deer in headlights, look in his eyes. They lit him up one side down the other.
Right.
He didn't have time to process. So for me, this goes back to your point. How did Coach K set this young man up to embellish his strengths? And I think, to Rachel's point, they got away from the run game way too early to get him
Absolutely
just
correct.
in a rhythm.
Absolutely correct. Kareem Hunt definitely should have got some more touches. I mean, when he, in the prime of his Browns, both him and Nick Chubb were rated in the upper half of running backs in the entire league. So it's almost criminal that we signed this man back in order to be not because you can't replace Nick Chubb. In my opinion, I know people love to say Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the league, but for what a running back is supposed to be, I'd say Nick Chubb is undoubtedly the best running back in the league. So you can't really replace him. But Kareem Hunt, he's a solid running back. He's a solid running back, and in his prime with the Browns was a top-rated running back. So for you guys to sign him and to put the idea in the fans' heads that this guy is he's gonna be our running back one going forward, and then give him, I think, 6 or under 10 attempts or under 10 carries, it doesn't make sense to me, especially since you know his talent because you played with this man before. So it doesn't make sense that you give him almost no carries in the game when you know this guy's a good running back, when you know this guy is also a good receiving back. He can receive, he can run, maybe he can even block. Who knows? Because this guy is actually such an elusive running back, and you're barely utilizing him.
I think that's a phenomenal point. And you talk about like criminal. When I looked at the post-game stats and saw that yards per play on a rushing side for us were 2.6 yards.
Horrible.
With that kind of caliber athlete on the bench, watching the plays, meaning Kareem Hunt, compared to the Baltimore Ravens 5.4. It's horrible.
Horrible. Absolutely.
Do y'all think with his play calling, and I'm not defending Kevin Stefanski because I don't think I ever will. I'm not a Kevin Stefanski fan at all. So do y'all think that he went away from the run because Baltimore was stuffing the box, and then they know that we don't have Nick Chubb and that Jerome Ford is no Nick Chubb. So do you think that they wanted to stuff the box to make sure we couldn't run the ball? Do you think that was one of the, he should have game planned a little bit better for that, did some easy passes because the run game didn't really get going? I'll take you, Dylan. Go ahead.
The run game, he did abandon it far too early. And as for his reasoning why, I think the O-line is a little bit to blame. The O-line was the pocket was collapsing within seconds. I mean, DTR was running for his life within like mere seconds of the ball being snapped. So the O-line wasn't blocking well for the running back to actually get through and get some yardage. So I think that could be a reason why he abandoned the run game. Maybe he wanted to just get DTR throwing the ball in the air, get him in a groove, which in cases that can work. If you get your quarterback in a rhythm, they can start nailing from 15, 20 deep balls. They can get everything going. But clearly, that wasn't a good game plan, especially with the rookie quarterback. You can't expect him to get in such a groove like that when he's barely had any real experience in an actual real NFL game. Don't get me wrong, preseason is still that's high caliber play because at the end of the day, NFL is like top 1% of football players. But you can't really expect DTR to get in such a groove like that when this is his first game, especially against Ravens defense, which is one of the top rated defenses in the league. In fact, many websites and analytics recommended you start the Ravens defense because of how well they expected them to play. So you can't really expect DTR to go out there and start getting into a zone like that against the Ravens defense.
All right, we got some internet comments. I'm sorry, Sapphire.
No,
John Suggs, what's up, John? Said, you women are not terrible. You need to blame Justin Fields. So I'm not exactly sure what that means.
If I'm correct, Justin Fields plays for the Bears.
Yeah, George says on Justin Fields, so he's responding to John's comments. I blame the coaching staff more than anything else, but he has some too. And George Medicki also says, on the brown and orange, I'm taking the Rodgers mantra, relax, but Hunt needs to be fed the rock. I'm still leery about Jerome Ford. What was you going to say, Sapphire?
Okay, and please, folks, respond to this. According to the data I looked at, the Browns opened the game with 7 passes on their first 10 plays.
Mm-mm.
Talk to me.
They shouldn't have did that with a rookie.
No.
His first NFL start,
Nope.
Absolutely not. Because what were they expecting?
Mhm.
And then, we watched the game yesterday with Eddie Scott as well, Eddie the front man Scott. We were at Eddie's house, and on the 3rd and 1, they went deep. So I'm not understanding, a call like that. It's keep it simple, stupid. And that's one of the things that they didn't want to do. They say Kevin Stefanski tries to outsmart himself and be the smartest person in the room. But I remember, last season when they had a 4th and 1 and they called for Jacoby Brissett to throw the ball deep.
Yep.
Like, what are you thinking sometimes?
Right.
That's when I'm just so sick of Kevin Stefanski calling plays because, when it works, it's wonderful. But when it doesn't, it's bad.
And the majority of the time, it doesn't. That's the
No,
thing.
it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like he's unaware. He's unaware of the history of the AFC North.
Right.
And after a few years being the coach of an AFC North team, he's still unaware of our AFC rivals, their approach to the game, right?
Right.
I just, it's so frustrating because, he doesn't even try to help himself out in the post-game pressers and just educate us on what the heck he's saying, what he's looking at that's compelling him to make these calls. Maybe we're missing something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we're missing anything at all, but we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
Love your energy.
Thank you.
Love
Yeah.
it. Love your energy.
Get
Now
this
we're
microphone because I want people to be able to hear you. So make sure you're talking in there. Okay.
All right.
But good job so far.
Thank you.
excellent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you for the tag. So we'll stay on. We'll give our rest of the answers for C, as we'll give our answer for A. I think we kind of went A. I don't think I gave my take. Then we'll get into Brown's defense and then Andrew Berry as well, and then we can move on or whatever from that. That was a fast 15 minutes. It go by so quick. Ugh.
Yeah, when I heard him say what he said today, Coach,
Yeah, I wasn't able to listen.
I just was like, okay, it's kind of a contrast to last year with Mayfield because you didn't know who made what decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's indicative of the stress that he's feeling. He knows he's on the clock. And I truly believe
As he should be.
Truly believe he threw Deshaun under the bus.
What did he say about Deshaun?
I mean, it was the whole thing with he revealed Watson was unable to throw a pass at full strength in practice last week.
Yeah.
When he took the field about 3 hours before kickoff, Watson made a few soft tosses and knew he would not be able to throw with the velocity he needed. So you got that, and then the coach saying his shoulder was structurally sound.
Right.
Come on, man. Come on. Oh, and that was the first time he was going to throw to see ultimately if he felt like he could, actually drive a throw.
You're in the huddle with Rachel Hill, the first lady of sports.
All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports. I am here with rising senior Dylan Westbrook today, who's joining us on the show. I'm here with Sapphire, our co-host. And then also keep in mind, you also can keep it locked right here on your regular radio dial at 95.9 FM. And then also you can listen to us online at WOVU.org. You can listen on the go, and you download the WOVU app so you can hear your regular people all the time. And then if you ever want to contact the station, any questions, comments, or concerns, 216-271-0959. So we are here discussing who gets the blame for the Cleveland Browns loss yesterday. So there were a couple options. Was it DTR who gets some blame? Was it Kevin Stefanski? Was it the Browns defense? Was it Andrew Berry? And I think I want to get my take on Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I really don't think he deserves any blame. I'll give him 0%. I think he probably was prepared as much as he possibly can. He knows the playbook and stuff like that, which was indicative of how he performed yesterday. I just think that he was seeing ghosts, and he probably wasn't ready for the big time. We sung his praises a lot in the offseason, and we thought that he could be a natural successor to Deshaun Watson, and just obviously not ready. Also, you went up against one of the best defenses and the best teams in all of the NFL. And the Ravens are very familiar with Kevin Stefanski. They're very familiar with the Cleveland Browns and what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are and what their tendencies are. So, I look at it as John Harbaugh out scheming Kevin Stefanski once again and showing why he's a master. I don't know if you guys remember that game with Baltimore and the Cleveland Browns, and I want to say almost in 2020, where they went back and forth, and it boiled down to the last possession. This was during COVID, because it was like 12,000 people, I think, there, and it boiled down to the last possession. And John Harbaugh just knows this, and he continues to outcoach Kevin Stefanski. So I don't blame DTR at all. Really, he's a rookie. We expected a lot from him, but I think he got out there and he was just seeing ghosts. So let's move on to option C, because we spoke our mind about how Kevin Stefanski goes. The Browns defense for giving up 28 points and seemingly having a subpar game. I don't really blame the defense as much, because they shut them down in the initial beginning in that opening drive, and then they did well, pretty much for the first quarter, but they were continuously out on the field. I don't know if you guys were able to watch the Kansas City game and the Jets game, and Kansas City had almost an 8-minute drive. And you could just see the New York Jets defensive people with their hands on their hips. They're tired. There's something about being in football shape. But, you're not prepared to be on the field for 8 minutes, which is more than 20 minutes probably in real life, because you got some stoppages, you got some TV time and stuff like that. But the Browns defense was on the field the whole doggone game. So one of the things is, I kind of expected that. You can only keep the energy up, for so long. We only scored 3 points yesterday. So offense was not able to move the ball. They were continually 3 and outs, so I really don't blame the defense, because they were on the field the whole game. Sapphire, I'll take your take on that.
I mean, I would agree with that totally. But, when I hear the leader, Myles Garrett, talk about at the end of the day, you still have to execute, right? You still have to tackle. There were a lot of missed tackles, and probably because of the fatigue factor. But I remember, I think it was the first Ravens possession of the second half. They started at about 15, and when they punted, I thought it was around 7. So to your point, that's a long time to have that was just one drive. That's a long time to have your defense, out there on the field. But I attribute it to fatigue. So, and then lastly, that I know of, Myles left that locker room with a boot on. So he gave it his all. And that's what I saw pretty much the linemen do. Secondary, yeah. But for me, that's my take. I mean, fatigue drove, I think, the lack of execution.
Yeah. What about you, Bill?
I'd have to agree. Defensively, we were out there far too long. I mean, the offense being slow does not only affect the offense; it affects both sides of the game. If offensively you're only out there for like a minute, and the defense has to go back out there, and they're not ready, they're not hydrated, they're not prepared to get back out there, then they're going to be slow. They're going to be sluggish, and it showed. I mean, I was watching the highlights today, and I saw like a 20-yard or a 20-plus yard gain by Mark Andrews. That should have been only about 15 or maybe 12 yards because guys right in front of him, he just misses the open tackle. I mean, it's just simple things like that that just really like just put the nails in the coffin for the defense. And they need to improve on those things, but at the same time, you can't expect them to just be full energy, guns blazing, 24/7 when the offense isn't even like giving them time to regenerate, to regroup. And clearly, Myles Garrett leaving that game affected them. Clearly, especially on the defensive line, clearly affected them. Lamar Jackson had far less pressure. Far less pressure. He had his way in that pocket. He had his way getting out of the pocket. He had his way of running, throwing. I mean, he had a good game. I mean, possibly MVP performance game if he got his yards up, but throwing. But yeah.
Yeah, it's curious to me because I'm also thinking, what did special teams do to help us?
Absolutely not.
That was actually going to be my next point, Sapphire. It was going to be, what about special teams? And that's the thing, there were no pretty much returns that was able to put us in a good situation for offense. So you had terrible field position the whole game.
Right.
So, that's the thing, the one kick that was, made needed to be made, but that wasn't enough to do anything. So, when you don't really have a punt returner back there and DPJ isn't, returning the punts like he needs to be, you're always putting your offense at a disadvantage. Hey, Cleveland Kate, can you hear me now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. So one of the things is that I don't know if you had heard initially when
I heard all of it.
Okay.
I heard all of it. Dylan is so wrong. It's not even funny how wrong he is. I don't ever want to hear his DTR gets.
You breaking up a little bit, Cleveland Kate. I think she was going to say DTR don't get any blame. You gave him 10% blame, right?
I would change the answer. I think it's far less blame. Especially
DTR gets nothing. He gets none of the blame for that. And y'all are not giving the defense enough of the blame. Time of possession was 29:50 to 30:10. That's a 20-second difference. If you're not missing tackles, you're getting 3 and outs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Those long plays they gave up were ridiculous. I'll give them a pass on that first touchdown after the interception because they only had to go, 10 yards? It was nothing. The next 3 touchdowns were ridiculous. You can't give up 21 points and expect to be considered one of the top defenses in the NFL when you play the way my defense played yesterday. That was Jim Schwartz getting rolled by the Ravens. Number 2, the Ravens defense is not that good. They are missing 4 key players yesterday. I was reading Sidham all over the fantasy blogs. It was our opportunity to take advantage of them with all those injuries. And what did we do? We did nothing on offense. If we'd have lost that game 3-7 or 3-10, I'd have felt better about my team today. They should have been running the ball. In the pregame press conference, they said to Stefanski, what do you need to do today to make DTR successful? And he said, we have to do the plays that he's comfortable with, and we're going to have to make some adjustments. They made 0 adjustments to their game plan for that kid. I feel so bad for him. I'm saying prayers for him. Sapphire's right. He's going to need some spiritual counseling because you did damage to him that we do every time we put a quarterback in too soon. You did not set him up for success yesterday. And the other thing I'm going to say about Kevin Stefanski is you have not learned yet at this point in your career to not listen to what a player tells you, to look at what your eyes see. Deshaun Watson was saying all week, I'll be fine. I'll be able to play. He could not throw a ball over 10 yards. If you as a coach cannot see that he can't throw a ball past 10 yards and understand that he's just going to tell you he's a gamer, I'm going to play. You knew all week he wasn't going to play. You did not prepare the rest of your team, and you did not adjust your game plan for Deshaun to not play. It was shameful what I saw yesterday. It was rookie crap from a coach that's been in the league too long for this, and from a defense that wants me to believe they're in the top of the league, and they were missing tackles left and right. Lamar Jackson was 15 of 19. 15 of 19. Ridiculous. They rushed for 133 yards. Ridiculous. We gave up on the run way too soon. I'd have been running the ball all day, eating clock. I don't care if I'm not getting any yards. I would have protected DTR for his future, not for yesterday. It was ridiculous. It was shameful. But he gets no blame for this. It's on the defense, and it's on Stefanski.
What
And I don't
about
care how good Josh Dobbs is playing in Arizona? He was stinking up the locker room here. He needed to go. I don't give Andrew Berry any blame for this either. Now, if PJ Walker had to come into play, if DTR had gotten hurt, we'd be having a whole different conversation about how Andrew Berry doesn't have the people on this team that we need. But I'm not giving him any of the blame for yesterday. That's Kevin Stefanski and the defense.
So you don't think that Andrew Berry should have probably kept Jacoby Brissett at all?
No, because we're paying Deshaun Watson entirely too much money, frankly, to be worried about our backups. Aside of an injury, DTR shouldn't have seen the field this year. I loved watching him in preseason. I have all the love that he is going to turn into what we need when Deshaun's contract is up, not week 4, not going into a bye. You and I had this very similar conversation a few years ago, right? We went to that Thursday night game that Case Keenum started and won because Baker was hurt. And the next week, we were playing the Ravens, and they rushed Baker back before they should have because it was the Ravens. They should have let Keenum play another week. And instead, Baker got hurt worse and was messed up for the rest of the season. I don't know what it is about the Ravens, but Stefanski's got them in his head. The same way the Bengals got us in their heads. They can't beat us, and that's on them. We can't beat the Ravens, and that's on us.
I just want to go back to make sure I understood what you said, Ms. Cleveland Kate. You believe that the Cavaliers, the Browns, are overpaying Deshaun?
No, but when you're paying him as much as you're paying him, you can't pay Jacoby Brissett what he wanted. You can't have another high-priced backup on the bench because of all the money they've got invested in him. They think he's going to start every game for the length of that contract, and they picked up Dorian Thompson-Robinson to develop over the next couple years on his rookie deal, which means he's making very little in the world of the NFL. And so they weren't going to pay Jacoby Brissett what he rightfully should get at this point in his career, or Josh Dobbs for that matter. And I don't know that our system was really right for Dobbs. He's looking good where he's at. Baker's looking good where he's at. He didn't look good here. The talent hasn't changed. The system is different. Baker's in a system that works for what he does.
Yes,
and
yes.
there. So that's all good. So
And
I don't think he could have kept Jacoby or Dobbs.
And I think Baker's also
Deshaun's
matured.
overpaid based on what we've seen on the field. But last week gave me a little hope that he finally figured it out. That because
I think too,
they were calling the plays right, and he figured it out, and we were going to be okay, and we're not. And can we talk a little bit about the Elijah Moore experiment? He is a receiver, not a running back. Quit trying to make him do something he's not comfortable doing. Just get him in the system and in the groove of actually catching balls from a quarterback in brown and orange. And then maybe you can have him run a little bit. I don't know what they're doing with him, but they're wasting his talent.
Sapphire, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Baker's in a better system, but he's also matured. And this is what happens when you look up and realize you're about to lose everything that you worked hard for. And I'll give him kudos for that. He is, in this stage, even though it's early, he has seemingly made a correction in his personality and the way that he views himself in the context of the NFL. But I wanted to jump back to this. So Jacoby inked a 1-year deal with the Commanders worth $8 million, which includes a $4.5 million signing bonus with $7.5 guaranteed, right? So this year he's got a base salary of $3 million, the signing bonus of $4.5, and the workout bonus of $500. I just want to understand why we think that the Browns could not have offered him a comparable, at least 1-year deal to further help Deshaun transition into his starting position here. What are your thoughts on that?
I would have done it because I don't see an issue with it. But I also don't know Jacoby Brissett personally. I don't know if he still has that fire to be a starter or if he would accept being a backup. I don't know. And I can only think that maybe he wants to be a starter and thinks that, that he wasn't going to get the chance to start here. I mean, the writing was on the wall when they paid Deshaun what they paid him. It didn't matter how well Jacoby played last year. That starting jobs was Watson's the minute his suspension was over. And maybe that's why. Maybe he didn't want to stay here knowing he would only start if there was an injury. That's
fascinating because I just think it begs that question because, in this moment, Deshaun is the 7th highest paid NFL quarterback. He's not even a top 5. So thank you for sharing that, your perspective.
Yeah, we aggravated a whole lot of other teams because they had to pony up and pay their quarterbacks more money when we did the Sean deal.
That's true.
Yeah, Dylan, what are your thoughts about that aspect of Andrew Berry and keeping Jacoby? Do you think he should have kept Jacoby or Josh Dobbs, or where are you at with that?
Number one, I think Deshaun Watson's absolutely overpaid. No offense to Deshaun. I mean, if you look at his Houston days, absolutely, maybe you pay him somewhere around that. But I think he's just overpaid, and I think we should have restructured something to where we could still have an elite backup quarterback, or at least a decent backup quarterback. Maybe keeping Josh Dobbs or keeping Jacoby Brissett, because just with the history of the Browns, for some reason, we just can't keep a quarterback healthy. I do not know what it is. I mean, Baker Mayfield he was set. And I remember last season, or no, sorry, not that last season, the season before that, Baker Mayfield, in his first couple of weeks, he looked very promising. And that Chargers game, I know we may have lost that, but he looked very promising. But it was that injury against the Cardinals that just messed them up. And then we continued to play them. We didn't put it in our backup. And just like with the history of the Browns, we need to keep an elite backup quarterback. That way, when things go wrong, we have someone to put in. And I understand Andrew Berry. You may have been looking at DTR in the preseason, and we're like, that guy can go in whenever. But it's the preseason. This guy's a rookie. I mean, he wasn't even in the first round. Like, you need to understand that you need someone that has experience. You need a veteran on the squad that has experience other than your starting quarterback.
Just another quick stat. The Browns did restructure QB Deshaun Watson's contract, creating nearly a $36 million in cap space. The cap conversion gave the team plenty of room to work in free agency. Watson was set to count $55 million against the Browns salary cap this year. That was dropped to the minimum of $19.1 million.
Yeah, and also, Dylan, to your point too, DTR was playing against second and third stringers as well.
Exactly.
So, you have the opportunity to kind of look like, Hercules out there against those third teamers. So, like I said, I'm not blaming him at all, but I just feel like Kevin Stefanski pretty much gets 99.9% of the blame for not putting and like I said, he even admitted that he didn't put his quarterback in a situation to succeed. So, what are you going to do going forward? Because hopefully coming out of this bye week, Deshaun Watson can actually play. Hopefully that this, they're talking about rotator cuff injury, and we all know that, your arm is your most important aspect and sports. So, hopefully this isn't anything that's too serious. And, I felt like the bye week came at the perfect time because you just played all three teams in your division within the first 4 weeks. So you're a little bit beat up right now, even though the season just started. So, hopefully, this is something that he can rest, because you got a tough challenge coming in here right now. San Fran is 4-0. They could be 5-0 by the time that, you reach them. So you got a tough team coming in there. So you want Deshaun Watson to be as healthy as possible. You want Myles Garrett to be okay. He was in that walking boot. So you definitely need, and then, Zadarius Smith went down in the game. I forgot what our center's name is.
Let's talk about David Njoku playing with the burns that he had on him.
Yeah.
Management in general, if I'm going to go off of really what Dylan brought up, is injury management is not something this team has been good at. They should have gone into that game yesterday once they realized Deshaun couldn't play and done a little bit of game management and said, listen, here's how it is. We are going to try to minimize the damage we do to DTR. We're going to keep it very simple. We're going to lose this game. It is what it is, but it's one game out of 17. Then we got a bye week to get everybody healthy, and they could have approached that game differently. Like I said, if I'd have lost 3-7 or 3-10, I would be less aggravated than I am today.
Yeah, and
I cannot let the Ravens beat me like that. I know when we look back at it, a loss just counts as one loss, no matter how ugly it is. But don't keep telling me the defense is the hallmark of this team, and the defense is why we're going to be able to do this, that, and the other, when the defense did what they did yesterday. Right. They had been doing really well all year. I was very happy with Jim Schwartz. They weren't missing tackles. They weren't giving up those third and longs. We were the worst team in the league on third and long last year. We were one of the best through 3 weeks. And that all went to hell in a handbasket yesterday. So that's where my frustration is at. But this team doesn't manage injured players well. And you're right. I wasn't happy with the 5th week bye, and now I'm thrilled with it because we need to get healthy.
Yeah, that goes back to Joe Juravicious. Remember,
Yes.
like that staph
Yes.
infection that he had,
And goes
so
back
you
to
know,
was it Kellen Winslow Jr. who had the
Yeah.
staph infections?
Yeah.
I mean, we do not manage injuries well. We don't. You know, the NFL season is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, Dylan, Joe Juravicious might have been before your time.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think I know that.
But, you know, it was the Cleveland Browns didn't manage his injury appropriately, you know, before he retired. So, all right, guys, we got to go ahead and take a break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
They gotta pick up a backup QB.
Yeah,
They have
because
to.
he ain't ready. How you feeling, Dylan, so far?
Feeling good right now.
Good. You doing it? You said right now?
Yeah, right now. I was a little nervous, but I think I'm doing all right.
You got a little bit comfortable?
Yeah.
Everybody starting off a little nervous, but you sound good.
Something else.
So funny. All it takes is to talk a couple times and then you be all right.
Yeah.
It's like you've been doing it your whole life. Oh, tired. What do you think, Mom?
I don't know. But it sounds exciting.
That's funny.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. Got a comment from George Bendicki. He says, couldn't Joe Burrow get paid? Oh, didn't Joe Burrow get paid? But the Bengals are inept on offense big time right now. That's my fantasy quarterback. So I need Joe to be performing a little bit better. And I dropped the Jets defense for the Browns defense. So I'm hoping that that's something that's not going to cost me or whatever. Because supposedly the Jets, you know, defense was superior, and they did hold Kansas City to 23 points yesterday. You know, there was a critical call that they didn't call, as always. I call them the Kansas City Chiefs.
That's right.
So, you know, there's always a magical.
Don't bash Patrick Mahomes too.
Oh, man, don't tell me you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
I'm not a fan, but I like Patrick Mahomes. I'll say that. That guy's a young talent. He's really tearing up the league right now. I mean, 2 Super Bowl MVPs as well as 2 Super Bowl wins, 3 Super Bowls appearances, and 2 MVPs. That kid, he's got talent. That's all I'm saying.
I'm Chiefs fatigue, and I'm mightily over what they got going on. That little mini dynasty that they trying to build. There was a meme with Patrick Mahomes jersey swapping with an official.
Nice. That was good. That was good.
Exactly. There's always a magical flag that comes out in their favor towards the end of the game so they can win games.
So I'm assuming you were rooting for the Eagles last year in the Super Bowl.
I absolutely was. I rooted for the Kansas City Chiefs against San Fran, you know, a couple years in the Super Bowl because, you know, they hadn't been in forever. So I rooted for them, but now the officials do everything to help them win games. So I'm just kind of over it, you know.
There's some shaky calls, but there are some shaky calls. I'll admit that.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, now Tom Brady is gone from the Patriots. So the NFL has to coin a new dynasty, and it looks like it's the Kansas City Chiefs because the Patriots suck right now. They're sitting at 1-3. And I know Bill Belichick is like, I probably need to retire right now if he wants to go out as one of the best head coaches in all of the NFL. But I don't think that he's going to stop coaching. So I'm just like, okay, Bill, you know, I don't know. But yeah, they're a travesty right now.
Yeah,
So
if the Patriots keep going on the road they're going, people are going to start pinning Tom Brady as the success of the Patriots because, with Tom Brady, 6 Super Bowls, multiple appearances, but without Tom Brady, one playoff appearance, and then in that playoff appearance, you got diced by the Bills. They scored every single drive on that game. So right now, it's looking like Tom Brady was the success of the franchise.
Yep.
I think it was both of them, though.
Oh, no, absolutely. Because for like someone who doesn't really watch football, people would probably see that. But if you really watched it, clearly Bill Belichick had a heavy influence on the defensive performance. For those years that they were in there, the defense was top rated in the entire league. So I'm not going to say it's all Tom Brady, but Tom Brady definitely did play a big role.
I hate the Patriots too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tight end usage. So last week we went from no tight end usage to David Njoku getting 6 touches, 6 receptions. I believe he caught every ball that was thrown to him. You had Harrison Bryant come in for a quarterback sneak, which worked. Kevin Stefanski goes from using no tight ends hardly to using tight ends this week. Part of it, I attribute to David Njoku having kind of an attitude last week when he spoke to the press. It was very short at his locker because I believe that he was kind of mad about the role that he was playing. All he is doing is blocking and he's not getting any touches. And when he gets the ball, he definitely makes plays. So I don't understand for somebody, Kevin Stefanski was, touted as a person who really uses his tight ends, and he really hasn't been using his tight ends, that much this season, that much last season. So, what identity do we have right now? Do we have a running identity? Do we have a passing identity? I think right now that we're going to have more of a passing identity because of having Nick Chubb out and what's going to happen with the running game. What are you guys' thoughts about that? Sapphire, I'll take you first.
I just think we started using David out of desperation. I think Kevin Stefanski suffers from panic attacks on the sideline.
He's seeing ghosts.
Listen, man, like Dion said this weekend, what is our identity? Like, I feel like I'm rooting for an NFC team, not an AFC North team. So for me, clearly they need to be using David Njoku more. And that thing with Bryant, was that when I went up and walked down the street? I can't remember.
No. I think we had gave up a touchdown and he got up. I thought you got in your car and left.
No, I needed a timeout. It's just, for me, yes, we should be using the tight end more, but it goes back to, for me, the play calling. Have you really sat down in your office during the week and had a come to Jesus moment? We're playing with the Baltimore Ravens. Here's the historical data on the Ravens. This is their tendencies. This is what they like to do. What have we done that works? What we have done that hasn't worked? Come on now. It's not rocket science, right?
No, it's not. Last season, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not wrong. David Njoku actually had a baller game against them last year with a touchdown receiving. And so it just doesn't make sense in my head, Kevin Stefanski, why you're not getting him as many touches. 6 receptions, that's good. But he, coming into the season, was a top 10 rated tight end in the entire league, and you're not using him. It doesn't make sense. He's a good blocker. I understand that. But he's also a good receiver. We see when he gets the ball, he ignites the offense, and he can really torch up team secondaries. In the Buccaneers game, he had the game-winning touchdown, which actually I think it was a crazy stat line, something like Tom Brady has never lost in those scenarios at all, except for when the Browns drove down the field and David Njoku caught that, which should have been, in my opinion, catch of the year. That was absolutely insane. So it just doesn't make sense when you have one of the best tight ends in the entire league and you just don't use him. You're getting him 2 targets or 2 receptions every game. It just doesn't make sense in my head.
And you pay him a lot of money as well, too.
Exactly. It's almost as if you're wasting his contract. But what are you going to get when you keep wasting this talent, Stefanski? We have so much talent on paper. We have so much talent. Our defense, well, for the most part, except for this past game, is so talented with Zadarius Smith, with Myles Garrett,
It's a nice combination.
Greg Newsome, Denzel Ward, which was rated one of the top cornerbacks in the league, and we continue to waste our talent year after year. I mean, last year I know I know we didn't have Deshaun Watson, but on paper we should have a system that we can throw almost any guy in there with some experience, and we should at least be 10-7. We should at least be a positive record team. But for some reason, year after year, we keep missing the playoffs. We keep falling short, and his talent is wasting. Nick Chubb, his talent has been wasted. Myles Garrett, his talent is being wasted. These guys are going to leave us. We keep performing this bad. His talent is going to leave us, and we're going to go back to the 0-17 Browns. If Kevin Stefanski, if you don't get your play calling together, if you don't get this team together and push forward and get us some wins.
Is that really more about that or ownership? And
Absolutely.
The general manager needs to have a
Absolutely.
pre-reckoning with Kevin Stefanski. I mean, how much more do we need to see?
Absolutely. I think they're still riding the high horse off of that, what seems like a unicorn year, where he had that coach of the year and brought us to the divisional, where he even battled the Kansas City Chiefs and almost won that game, about which, by the way, we absolutely should have. Horrible call by the refs. But I think they're just still like drunk off the thought of a coach of the year, Kevin Stefanski. And honestly, I think Kevin Stefanski was just throwing up plays and they just happened to work. I mean, actually, the game that when we dominated over the Steelers and won, Kevin Stefanski was at home. He wasn't even at the game. So was it Kevin Stefanski that was really driving this team, or was it just the talent that we had?
I mean, I called the AVP play how many times yesterday? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I think it was the talent that we had in AVP call on the plays. So, you said what's Kevin Stefanski gonna get? He gonna get fired. That's what he's gonna get.
I'm telling you, if we don't make playoffs, if we don't go positive, he's getting fired. He's getting absolutely fired. And if he isn't, then we need to really have a conversation about our GM if he doesn't get fired after this year. Like, absolutely.
And and it's so curious because for me, depending on the future direction of the regular season, I wouldn't be surprised to see Schwartz in the head coaching position.
That may be the move. That may be the move because clearly defensively, this guy might be a mastermind. Besides that game for the Ravens, this guy might be a mastermind.
Well, if this defense if they rebound and continue to do well, and this offense is continuing to sputter, and I don't know if I could necessarily blame it on Deshaun Watson, but if you're not going to put your players, your offensive players in situations to succeed, he'll probably be gone this year. But the Haslam's give people the opportunity. Think about, Hugh Jackson, how many opportunities he was given. Right. 0-15, 1-15. 0-16, 1-15. They gave him opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. So I don't know if they don't want to say, we're wrong again. We're bringing in another head coach. This is something that we're always doing. We're bringing in another quarterback. Just failure upon failure upon failure. And a lot of people feel that, the team will never be successful because it has them. I don't feel that way, but that's how other people feel. I feel like you get a quality quarterback in, something that we haven't had in forever. You got Deshaun Watson. Unfortunately, Nick Chubb went down, and that has rocked this team. Nick Chubb is one of the best running backs in all of the NFL, and him going down, he was the heart and soul. He wasn't elected to be a captain because I think he has a different leadership style. But, they have game captains, and I'm sure, he would have been a game captain. But, him going down kind of flipped your offense on his ear and what you wanted to do with him throughout the season. And you don't have him now. And, you have a sophomore back there, Jerome Ford. This is the second year in the league, and you're asking him to carry a big load. But you brought Kareem Hunt back into the fold. So you need to figure out a way. And this is one of the things we talked about last week, Sapphire, is if, Kareem Hunt is going to get more touches and, it was just abysmal yesterday at the running game. You went away from it too soon. So, you got to figure out a way to work them more into the mix. And, even if Baltimore does stuff the box, in anticipation because of those, deficiencies, you still got to go with it, and break them and wear them down as well.
Just listening to you say that, which was really powerful, I think it almost sounds like the Browns put all of their eggs in the one basket.
Yeah.
And we're up here, like you said, young man, in the AFC North, you got to have contingencies. Yes, Chubb is all of that in a bag of chips, we used to say, but now he's not with us. So what was your contingency plan in case that happened? That catastrophic event happened. And this goes back for me to the head coach. When you plan and you strategize, right, it all comes back to him. So I just, that really resonated with me, the way that you just said all of that, because, like, what do we have now?
You think about, we talked about successors. We talked about, Jacoby Brissett being a successor for Deshaun Watson if need to be. And I'm wondering if this staff was kind of wondering how Deshaun was going to perform this year, and then there was no contingency plan if Nick Chubb went down because you got Kareem Hunt, because you thought Jerome Ford was going to be able to be the contingency plan for Nick Chubb. And right now it's shaping up that he's not. He has some decent runs, but, you got to be able to plow through. But also, one of the things is your blocking schemes. And right now your offensive line is not blocking. Wilkes, what is his name again? I forgot his name. Willis.
Is it the Alabama brother? What's his
name?
Willis?
Yeah. Yes. He's not blocking right now. DeJuan Jones went down for a hot second. I'm not sure if he returned yesterday. Joel Bitonio kind of got turnstile yesterday. Ethan Pochett, left the game. So this team is not blocking for the run as well. So they got some things to work on, because I believe it's Bill Willis is one of the best offensive line coaches, all in the NFL. But you got to get this offensive line on their blocks and, to help the running game get going too.
So I misspoke. Jedrick Wills Jr. That's his name. But here's for me. I heard in one of the play-by-play analysts say this. We can't be. I'm paraphrasing this part. We can't be too hard because the Browns O-line was designed to block for a different type of running back in terms of Nick Chubb.
Absolutely.
I reject that on all levels, to be honest with you. But, they're already doing the post-game, let's save Browns Nation shtick, So, yeah, I don't know. It was really just a horrific game yesterday. I wish Browns fans that went to the game could get a refund, to be honest with you, or at least parking pass for the next game. I mean, it just was terrible. They looked like a uncoached team that wasn't remotely prepared for that game yesterday.
All right, really quickly, we got 3 minutes left. Terry Francona, what do you think he's meant to this franchise? 11 years. Yesterday, they lost his last game. Excuse me, I'm sorry. What do you think he's meant to this franchise? Dylan, take you first.
As an avid baseball fan, I love the Guardians. Tito was like the pride and soul of the Guardians. I mean, this guy clearly really just affected how our teams play. I mean, last year won AL coach or AL manager of the year. I mean, clearly this guy was something special for the Guardians. So I think losing him, I don't think we're going to be able to find a replacement that's going to be equivalent to him, because he was just such a big impact for this team. I mean, he rose up young star Stephen Kwan, who, if you remember, started his career first 5 games, didn't even strike out, and he clearly his influence has really just made his run through this lineup and everything like that. So,
all right.
I mean, for me, I think Tito was a fans coach. I mean, for this market, I was always more of a Mike Hargrove sort of fan, because he absolutely dictated his identity onto the team. But I'm very thankful for Tito's time here and wish him the best of luck. If the organization is smart, they'll bring him in-house.
I imagine him, tomorrow's the final press conference, and, usually it's not a goodbye, it's a see you later. So I'm wondering if he's going to go to the broadcasting, because when he did his press conference with the Indians, when he was first introduced, he was like, he had an opportunity to go into broadcasting, but we came here. So, I just wish him the best of luck. I'm still mad about 2016, about him not pitching Ryan Merritt in the World Series, even if he had lost the game and got beaten up a little bit. You still gave Andrew Miller and Corey Kluber a rest. So I'll never understand that. But Dylan, I want to thank you so much for being here. Hopefully you had a good time. Sapphire, as usual, you were amazing. Dylan, you were amazing as well. You've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We are out of here. Good job, Dylan.
Thank you.
Excellent job, Dylan.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you for lending him to us today.
Oh, yeah.